it's Devin here, and today I'm going to do my how I paint Fallschirmjager video. So this is the end result we're going for. I've got my two guys at the back here that I'm going to work through the tutorial on. Their skin tones are all done. Okay, and the first step is we're going to basically block out the main colors, right? So on the smock here we'll start with German Camouflage Beige. Okay, that's the base for the smock. Then the helmet and the trousers, Luftwafe uniform, and then the webbing, the boots and other little areas will be a 50-50 mix of Luftwafe uniform and black. So I'm just using surface primer black. Okay, so I'm just going to start with the beige, and basically all we're doing here is just getting a nice base coat down. Probably take a couple of coats if you got your paint thinned right. And I'll just work my way around the guys here. Not too worried if I get a bit of paint on the other areas. It's a light colour, it'll get painted over easily. Okay, so that is the beige base coat down, nice and solid. And now I'm going to do the Luftwaffe uniform down here on the trousers, and just get all that locked in. Just starting to be a little slower and more accurate. Now, I mean, the colours I'm using, well, the smock is probably going to be close to accurate. I'm not sure about the Luftwaffe uniform pants, but I've gone for this colour here because it gives a nice contrast to the smock and it really sort of stands out nicely on the table, rather than going for like a German grey. So I'm going to carry on and do this on the two guys. The other part just to note is the shirt is going to be Luftwaffe uniform as well. On this guy, his helmet will be. Okay, so up next is all the webbing and the boots, so you know, the ammo pouches, the belts and things like that. Now this is a 50-50 mix of Luftwaffe uniform and black. I'll just get a little bit on my paintbrush. And what you're really going for, you're sort of going for a dark blue-grey. So colour there, and you got to go a bit slow on this one. Obviously you're up against a lot of your other colours already, and you just take your time. So I'll work my way around again, and because really this is just base coating, nothing too interesting here, but we're getting close to getting onto the good parts. Okay, so that's the webbing done, the base coat on that, and just you do the entrenching tool, you know, basically any straps, the canister, the top of the water bottle, most of the pouches, also up around the face. Take your time because you want to do all the helmet straps as well, and if you do that properly it'll frame the face nicely. So next is one more base coat which is just this bag which is underneath. So we're going to do that in canvas, and it's pretty simple. Doesn't take a lot of effort actually, this one. So I'll get that done. So now we're going to start the splinter pattern camo. So how I do this is I basically do triangles. So I start with German camouflage medium brown, right, and I do largish brown triangles. Now I've switched over to my 00 brush from my 0 brush that I normally use. Just a little bit more control with this, so I'll get a little bit on and we'll see if I can do this. So basically what I do is I sketch out a triangle. Need a little bit more paint on the brush. So I sketch out a triangle and then I fill it in. Trying to make sure you've got some nice crisp lines and sharp corners. So really, this is the hard part. So then you just sort of start to work your way around and just create different triangles in different. I'm gonna carry on and do this off camera because it's pretty hard to do with the camera in between me and the Mini. So I'll carry on and do this and I'll show you. But basically I'll do another one. But the idea is you sketch out your triangle, you just find a spot and you want to turn your miniature around and you always want to see a brown triangle. Okay, so I'll just do another one down here. I'll get it into focus first. And just take your time. Remember trying to mix up the orientation of your triangles as well. I've been a bit slack so far on this one. Okay, I'll work on these two guys. So there is the little brown triangles. I'm not particularly actually happy with the placement of this first one. I think it should really just be over to the right a little, just because it's too in line with the one below. But you know, and really I probably could put one down here or something like that, but as I said, as you turn it you always want to see, you know, some brown triangles, and I've achieved that. So it's one of those ones that you could muck around with for a long time, but try not to. The other thing is, while you're at it, pick up the canteen, just in the same brown as the base. So we'll keep knocking them over. Here's the other guy. It's got the same sort of effect going on. Okay, so up next is green triangles with Luftwaffe camo green. Okay, So again, same principle. Except for what you're doing now is that you're finding your... Okay, can I do this? You're finding your brown triangles and you're just attaching slightly smaller green triangles. My lamp is actually in my way. There we go. So you can see there, this little green triangle. I need to clean up the bottom edge a little there. And you sort of work your way around, and everywhere you see a brown triangle, you at least want to see a small green triangle. Like in a space like this, where it's quite big. If we'll focus, I'll probably put another one up the top there. I'll put one. What we're doing here is we're just trying to give the impression of the camouflage pattern, and that's really it. And this is where, if you make ones like this triangle here where it's a bit rounded on the edge, what you can do is when you add your green triangle is you can just square it. Okay, so I'm going to have to do this off camera because it requires a lot of concentration, but it's actually not too hard. You follow the same thing, right? You do the outline of the triangle that you want to do. Alright, so we're just gonna pivot one out here and you just fill it in. And just as you roll the mini around, you just look and you go, okay, in here is a good spot. And what we'll do is we'll just sharpen up the end of that triangle at the same time. Just keep rolling around adding little triangles. Now, I mean, I'm sure if you have a look at a picture of splinter camo, you'll see that they've got more slightly zigzag shapes and things like that, but I've found just doing the triangles like this, it's a bit easier, you get more control, and I mean at the end of the day, when you're looking at these guys, when you look at them back there, it looks pretty good. You're getting the same effect. Okay, I'll get this done and we'll move on to the next step. So there are all the little green triangles done. So it's alright, I don't know if that's my best work. I'm not actually happy with the front of this guy, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to change it though either. I think there's too much symmetry across the front, and I think that's one thing you want to try and avoid. And this guy is not bad actually. I like how I've laid out the pattern more on this guy, but it's just a random thing, so don't get too concerned with it. So the next step is washes. Alright, so you just need a brown wash and a black wash. I'm just using the Vallejo ones today. If you're using the Vallejo ones, be really careful with them if you water them down. I find they go white if you water them down, so and don't lay them on too thickly as well. So basically we're brown washing the camo smock, and then black wash basically everywhere else that we've painted so far. So I'll just throw that on and let that dry. Okay, so I've had to change my setup here. My camera died, so I've switched over to my phone. Picture quality may even be better, but it's a bit of a mess to deal with. But oh well, we'll carry on. We're up to highlighting, so all the washes are down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start highlighting the smock again, basically with the same colour that was the base, which is the German Camouflage Beige, but I've thinned it down with thinner medium. It just makes it a little bit more transparent and easier to apply the highlights with. So really, you're just looking for little raised sections. Any of sort of the top parts, and you just bring the colour back into them. So you can see there on the shoulder what we're trying to achieve. Got to get used to this camera and where it focuses now. Just spin over to the other side here and do the same. And really, you're focusing your efforts here on the top part. Smock's done. Now we're just going to start doing the actual camouflage pattern, so just the green and the brown. So German camo medium brown again for the brown bits, same as the base, and all we're doing here is just really aiming for the center of each of the triangles and just giving them a little bit more color, just to help them stand out a bit after the wash. If you make a little mistake like that, that's not a problem. You can see I can still form the triangle out of it. Just come back in and extend it down, and you got a triangle again. And then the green again, it's just a Luftwafe camo green, and I mean with these ones they don't seem to dull out with the wash as much. So really you're just aiming for the middle of them, just a little bit of colour in them again, just to so there is the camo pattern highlighted. There's one more step I forgot about, and that is the raindrops. So yeah, these are interesting to do. You don't have to do them, but I've been doing on the other guys, and I'll just take the Luftwaffe camo green, alright, and you look for sort of the sheets of material, right? So it's a different piece of material on the sleeves. than say the torso. So the torso, you say it's up and down, so that's the direction you do your raindrops. And all I do is I just go in close and just do 2 little lines side by side. I don't even know if you can see that, it's not coming up well. I'll try and do some more just over here. They're really fine lines. Yeah, the camera's not really picking them up. Let's just do them a bit thicker. You can see them just there. I generally just do them as two stripes. And I don't do too many on the mini. I just work my way around. I just do a couple on the bits of material. Now, what I mean by the difference in the material is because, you know, the sleeves are sewn on. So the way I view the sleeves is that they are going down this way. All right. So I do my raindrops here. See. And then if I was to do them on the sleeve further around, say down here, I would do them up, continuing in the direction of the piece of material, because he's bent his elbow. Oh, this is really hard to do in these current conditions with the camera in front of me, and it's a really hot day here and the paint is not playing nice. But yeah, so you just work around and you just add a few here and there, not too many I found, just a couple just to give the effect. Okay, the next stage is then highlighting the Luftwaffe camo. So we did Luftwaffe, well not Luftwaffe camo, Luftwaffe uniform. So we take that again, and really we're just going to highlight the legs. So that will Luftwaffe uniform with a black wash. So now we're just going to highlight them again, thin down your paint. Just hit the high areas of that. And then what we do is we get a little bit of a white, whatever white you've got. I'm sort of using this sort of really light grey here, and mixing that in, sort of doing a 50-50 mix with the Luftwaffe uniform to just create the last highlight, and really just hitting the highest points. There we go. There's a couple little spots there that I just need to probably blend it in just a little bit more. I'm going to do the same on the other guy here, and then I'm going to get ready to do his helmet. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do now is sort of, well, do the helmet, I suppose, best way to describe that. We're not sort of going to do it, we're going to do it. But we're going to try, we're going to go and achieve this effect here where it's, looks like it's, you know, worn and dinted and, you know, got a little bit of damage to it, a little bit of paint chipped off here and there. Now, I think I got this from, I think it was the boltaction.net guys. And basically all you're doing is the sponging technique. So again, this was Luftwaffe uniform and then had a black wash over it, and then we're just going to start with Luftwaffe uniform and get a little bit on the sponge. I'll just dab it off, and then really you just sort of start, just sponge around. And then just like we did with when we highlighted these areas, it's just again a little bit of Luftwaffe uniform with some grey mixed in or white. Right, and we just this time we're more from the top, and we just work our way around and sponge on. There you go. I mean, what you can do, depending on what it looks like, you can then come back and get like that sort of the original, or not the original mix, but the mix that we did for the webbing, which is like Luftwaffe uniform and black mixed together. Right, you can get that a bit on the sponge and just hit it just quickly, and then you sort of break that up a bit more. That just gives you a nice effect on the helmet. Really quick to do. Okay, so now we move on to highlighting the webbing, which is Luftwaffe uniform and black, so the same base color we started with. Yeah, just making sure it's workable on the palette. Okay, and again, nothing special here, we're just hitting the high points. Okay, just a little bit of that, and then you just move straight up to straight Luftwaffe uniform, alright, for the highest highlight on this one. And really you're just hitting the edges and the really high points of it. With the boots, I just highlight them again just with the Luftwaffe uniform in black mix. I don't go up to the Luftwaffe uniform. So while we're here, just really just focus on the almost the toe of the boot only. There'll be a couple of little sections around the back that you might want to get depending on the sculpt. So now I'm just going to have a quick turn around and let's see where we're at. Alright, I've got to do this. I've just been painting that green. Mix it up. I've got Luftwaffe green, Luftwaffe camo green on the palette, so it's just going to be that on this guy. Alright, so it's also got like a little strap, so once that's dry I'll just hit that with a brown. What will I use? I'll probably use maybe some Mournfang brown or something like that, just for the little, what looks to be like a little leather strap on it. And then, just to be different, I'll hit it with a black wash, so it's sort of a different green from the other greens.
So there's the little canteen done. Again, just yeah, it's simple. Nothing too much going on there. And with this guy, I've quickly just done the base coat. His hair's black, and the bandage was Iraqi, or is Iraqi sand. Alright, that's These are just the little details on the guy now. So what I'm going to do with his hair really quickly is just add a really dark brown sort of highlight to the black hair. I'm just going to use Dryad bark. Let's really just add a little bit of depth to the black hair, and I'll hit it with a wash in a minute. And while we're at it, we'll just use the Dryad bark as the base on the wooden parts of the rifle. Any real dark brown will do here. We're going to basically paint over it completely, but it just helps set up the colour. This setup is not very stable. I'm just going to quickly hit the wash with the hair, the hair with a black wash, and I'll just do the bandage with soft tone. Okay, and I'll come back once I'm done. Okay, so now we're on to the weapons, or the metal parts of the weapons. Okay, and we're going to do a 50-50 mix of gunmetal grey with just black, okay, to give a really dark metal look. Here's this guy with his washers done. Forward focus, there we go. And we'll just hit his weapon, his little submachine gun. So this one's really easy, it's all metal. The rifle one, so we can go with the rifle. So again, we're just doing all the metal parts on this really quickly. Now it's time to do the wood on the rifle. So we're going to start with Mournfang brown. And we're gonna then do a 50-50 mix of Mournfang brown and new wood, and then the final highlight will be just straight new wood. So let's get that happening. And we also need to do just the wooden handle of his entrenching tool here, so we just follow the same principle. It's just the, oh, there we go, let's get that on camera for you. It's just the end piece, the rest of it is all metal. Okay, so now we do the 50-50 mix. And you just focus in the center again. Working on the handle down here as well. And then straight up onto the new wood. So you can see this is pretty quick to do. And again, like now with the new wood, we're just focusing in the center. Wash on the metal parts on the weapons. And with the rifle, we also want to just on these straps, just you can just hit either side of them as well. Just make sure it so it just goes over onto the wood. It just helps give a little bit more of a shadow to it. Is dry, you just sort of have a look, and I'm happy with the rifle. You could go and get your 50-50 mix again and do a little bit of highlighting if you really want across the top, just to pick out a few spots a bit more. But that's that guy done. And then I'll look at this guy with the submachine gun, and I really want to add a little bit more contrast because to here, it's because it's just a big blob of metal really. So what I've done is I've added a little bit more black into my gunmetal mix. And I'm going to hit this lower half here with that and just darken that up. And I'll hit the magazine as well. And there we have it. That is how I paint Fallschirmjager.